Hello students, we are going to start chapter 7, Cell Structure and its Function. In this chapter we are going to study about the cell, their structure and different functions, what the parts performs different functions. First, we are going to study who has discovered cell. Robert Hooke observed a thin slice of cork under the microscope. He noticed a tiny empty spaces enclosed by the walls. He saw that they looked like compartments and named them as a cell. So the first scientist Robert Hooke has discovered the cell. What he has taken? He has taken a slice of cork, that is a bark of a tree, and just place it under his microscope. That is, it was a simple microscope. Then what he has seen small compartment. They are enclosed in by the walls, and he named them as cell. This cell can be divided into two types depending upon the number of cells. They are like unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. An organism which is made up of only single cell, and some organisms are made up of only single cell like amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, yeast. They are called as unicellular organisms. Multicellular organism, an organism made up of many cells. So if an organisms are made up of many cells, they are called as multicellular organisms. Example, plant, animals, human beings, they come under multicellular organisms. Cells have different shapes so that they can perform different function. Cells become specialized to perform specific function and exist in different shape. They can be disc shaped, polygon, branched, or even without shape, which is seen in amoeba. Amoeba comes under unicellular organisms. They are made up of only single cell and they don't have any fixed shape. Nerve cells. Nerve cells are elongated and they need to carry the message to different parts of the body. So if we see the nerve cells, they are long. Why? Because they have to carry the message to the different parts of the body. Similarly, muscle cells are cylindrical and branched. They help in movement. They help in the movement by contracting and expanding. So muscle cells are cylindrical and they branched. Why? Because they help in the movement. So they can contract and they can expand. Similarly, skin cells are flat in shape to produce large surface area for protecting the body. So skin cells are flat in shape. White blood cells present in the blood can change their shape to help in destroying the germs in the body. So white blood cells which are present in our body, they fight against the germs. So they have the capability to change their shapes. Sperm cells need to swim long distance, so they have a tail to propel themselves. Sperm cells have a long tail so that they can swim and move in the forward direction. Cells in plant may be hexagonal, rectangular and spherical depending upon their function. So cells in the plants are of different sizes. They can be hexagonal, rectangular, spherical, and they perform different types of functions. Next, structure of cell. A cell has both living and non-living parts. The living parts present in the cell have a definite shape, structure and function. They are called as organelles. So cell can have both living and non-living parts. The living parts present in the cell, they have a fixed shape, structure and they perform a fixed function. So they are called as organelles. Each organelle in the cell performs different functions. Cell membrane. This is one organelle. We are starting about the organelles and their function. Cell membrane. The cell is surrounded by a thin covering called a cell membrane. It protects the cell and gives the shape. It allows the selective material in and out of the cell. The cell membrane is the outer covering of the cell. It protects the cell. It gives the shape to the cell, and only some material which they want to eat or they want to give out can go through the cell membrane. Next, cell wall. The cell wall is present only in the plants. Animals do not have cell wall. So in animals the cell wall is absent. This extra layer provides the rigidity and protect the cell, as the plants do not have a skeleton support. So they provide the rigidity and protection to the cell. This cell wall provides the rigidity and protection. Cell wall is present only in the plant cell. Next, nucleus. Nucleus is also called as the brain of the cell. The nucleus controls the major functions of the cell. So it is referred as brain of the cell. We always call the nucleus as the brain of the cell. The nucleus is surrounded by a membrane called nuclear membrane. A semi-solid substance called nucleoplasm is present inside the nucleus. So nucleus is the brain of the cell. It is covered by a nuclear membrane. The liquid present, the semi-solid substance which is present inside the nucleus is nucleoplasm. This nucleoplasm contains the thread-like substances which are called as chromosomes. So nucleoplasm contains some thread-like substances which is called as chromosomes, and these chromosomes carries the heredity material called genes that are responsible for transferring the character from parents to the offspring. So these chromosomes contains genes that they carry the heredity material and which are responsible for transferring the character. Cytoplasm. It is a jelly-like fluid that is found within the cell membrane but outside the nucleus. So cytoplasm is present inside the cell membrane but it is outside the nucleoplasm because many organelles are embedded in the cytoplasm. Cytoplasmic organelles. Cytoplasmic organelles means the organelles which are present in the cytoplasm. First, googly apparatus. It is made up of sac-like, tube-like structure called vessels which are responsible for the secretion of chemical substances such as enzymes, hormones and proteins. So these googly apparatus are responsible for giving out the chemical substances like hormones, proteins, enzymes. Next, mitochondria. They are small rod-like spherical structure. They oxidize the food to provide energy and therefore called as the powerhouse of the cell. So what is the function of mitochondria? To oxidize the food into energy, to change the food into energy. So we call them as powerhouse of the cell. Nucleus is called as the brain of the cell. Mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Vacuoles. They are sac-like structures enclosed in the membrane called as stenoplast. They store excess water, food and waste inside them. So vacuoles, what their function is to store the food, to store the waste and to store the water. For storing the which part organelle is of the cell is used, that is vacuoles. Lysomes. They contain a chemical substance of enzymes that can digest cell and variety of intracellular and extracellular material. They are called as suicide bags. Suicide bags. Lysomes are called as suicide bags as they are capable of bursting and destroying the cell during the time of emergency. During the time of emergency, if what lysomes will do, they burst the cell. So they are called as suicide bags. Powerhouse. Mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. Nucleus is called as the brain of the cell. Okay, and lysomes are called as suicide bags of the cell. Ribosomes. They are small granular structures scattered in cytoplasm which are responsible for protein synthesis. They make the protein synthesis. Endoplasmic reticulum, the network of tubules which are involved in the storage and transportation of the substance within the cell. There are two types: smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes which are attached to the surface, due to which the surface has the grainy appearance, and the smooth does not have the ribosomes. Okay, so endoplasmic reticulums are of two types. They are smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Centrome. The structures present, these structures are present only in the animal cells. Their main function is to initiate and regulate the cell division. So cell divisions helps in this. The function of centromes is the helping in the cell division. Plastids, they are present only in the plant cell. They contain certain pigments that have a specific function. Depending upon the pigment color, plastids are three types: chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast. Chloroplast, these contains green pigment called as chlorophyll, which help the plant in making the food. So plastids, they have different colors. They have a pigment different colors. Depending upon them, they are divided into three: chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast. Chloroplast, they contain the green pigment called as chlorophyll, which helps the plants in making food. Chromoplast, they contains the non-green pigments which give the color to the flower and fruit. So chromoplast gives the color to the flowers and fruits. And leucoplast, they are colorless and store food in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and they mostly contain starch. So leucoplast, they stores the food in the form of carbohydrate, proteins, and fat. Next, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The cells which lacks a well-defined membrane-bound nucleus. The cells which do not have a well-defined membrane-bound nucleus. The genetic material is suspended freely in the cytoplasm. Examples are bacteria, blue-green algae. And the cells which have a well-defined membrane-bound nucleus. The cells which have well-defined membrane-bound nucleus are called as eukaryotic cells. The genetic material is found enclosed in the nucleus, that is chromosomes. In chromosomes, they have genes. All plants and animals. Examples are all plants and animals. Next, cell division and growth. Once a cell is formed, it starts ingesting and digesting the food, making it grow in the size. So what happens when a cell is formed? They start to take the food and the size of the cell grow. After reaching a certain size, it divides to form into two cells. The new cell formed is known as daughter cell, and it is the exact copy of parent cell. So after reaching a certain size, the cell divides into two. The new cells which comes out, we call it as daughter cell, which are the same copy of their parent cell. New cells are not only needed the growth of an organism, but also replaces dying and damaged cell in the body. So new cells are not only needed for the growth of the organisms, but also they replaces the damaged and the dying cells of the body. So till here your chapter has been completed. Thank you.